He was coming off as the better wrestler. And then right there, Benoit looked at the ref, and right as he looked at the ref, boom, right there with a cold clock from Angle to really get that cutoff.
And you know what I liked best about that, Willie, was what was Benoit's shine, really? And it really came from, I think it was Paul Heyman. I think Paul Heyman was commentary, right? And when he was saying that he was putting over Kurt Angle as the Olympic hero, or the Olympic gold medalist, but saying tonight he's being out wrestled by Chris Benoit, you know? And really, when you think of moves, I think maybe Angle had a I don't know, one of those arm lifts, and he slammed him down almost like an Angle slam. He gave Benoit a bump, but Benoit really didn't have much, right? Really driving home that point of less is more, really showing that not only can Benoit keep up with the Olympic gold medalist, but also he was outstaging him to where it came. And then I think commentary was really great on that, just like you said, right? Then it came to the point where they even said, here he's in a wrestling match, now he wants to brawl because he's getting out wrestled. And it makes sense, right? Someone's going to punch you in the middle of an Olympic wrestling match. Like, get out of here. And I think the best part, right, it comes from the Olympic wrestler. You know, and when you really look at both these wrestlers, we obviously see that Kurt Angle is the heel. He comes out on the mic, tells everyone, stop, hey, don't wear your cowboy hat, this, that, and the other. But we also know that Benoit is not a goody two-shoes, right? And so if anything, he would be a face by aggression. We talk about heel by aggression. He's also still a face by aggression, you know? So I'm sorry, I just wanted to interrupt you there because I really enjoyed that part.
No.
Benoit he didn't do much. He just out-wrestled. It was just wrestling and nothing really even significant that he did. It was just, like you said, the transitions were smooth and everything like that. So I'm sorry. Go ahead and carry on.
Oh, no. And then, they just continued a match breakdown. But back to reflect off this match to actually my Billy Robinson match I watched, because I didn't get to input. I'm going to input on that real quick. Less is more. I watched the one with Kevin Von Erich. And that was later in Billy's career where Kevin Von Erich came out. All the girls were cheering him. His shine was basically his physique, the way he looked, and the way he wrestled. He was real flashy. He out wrestled Billy, and by the end, Billy got frustrated, powdered. Then he came back in and came with a little bit more of the aggression. So he really built the heel off of just being out wrestled, and that's why I kind of tied it in to this match. It wasn't like he was the heat because he was flipping off the crowd or just really driving the crowd. It was the fact that Angle did come out and he would, there was a previous story. He was talking trash, all this stuff. So we knew he was the heel, but just watching this match, he was just as good. But then right there, then and there, he took the shortcut. He took the easy way out. And right there, because we wanted to see, because I got it, I've watched this match. I watched that first start so many times. But every time you want to see them continue because you want to see the real outcome of that. But
Exactly. I think you see, right, everyone, the well-respected Chris Benoit, the Olympic gold medalist, and just like you said, we do want to see that and become. But I think that's the beauty of pro wrestling. I think. Am I wrong that the referee got knocked out and then Benoit puts the crippler cross face on, right? I love it. Sometimes I hate it, but I love it because that is what pro wrestling is, the drama that's built. And you're like, what's going to happen? How's it going to turn out, But yeah, I thought it was a really good match,
Yeah.
I loved it. Thank you. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that?
Oh, no.
Awesome.
Thank
Awesome. You. Who is next on I have Kristen. I think Hannah was there. So let's go with Kristen and then Hannah.
Okay. I took some notes of the match, and when I was trying to break down the how the match applied with the 7 steps, it was interesting how they differentiated the opening chain from Benoit's shine, because in the opening chain, they're basically grappling together like a couple of aggressive badgers, but Benoit always was in control, and they had to do break aparts. And it was after the lift up, that's when he got more in control, and in that point, Angle was using the ropes. He didn't do it beforehand. It was during this part, and that was when it became more noticeable that it was the Shine, especially with the two crossface attempts.
Yeah, and you know what? Great point that you bring up there. The crossface attempts not only are a part of his shine, but are also what? What could they be, Kristen? Do you know?
It definitely became he used it as his falses.
Yes, right from the go, right. So I'm giving you the breakdown, but I still, and I'll say it in every class. I want to stress the point, right? This is a breakdown for the beginners to follow, but there's so many different ways to call a match. So now you're seeing a match right from the beginning. Not only do you have his shine, but if he's going for his finish, and it becomes Angle becomes very urgent, and it's very urgent for him to get to the ropes. Now we start seeing, and even the crowd starts building up, because if he does hook it on, really, it doesn't even matter, right? Beginning of the match, middle of the match, end of the match, when he hooks it on, it's pretty much going to be over, you know? And I love that aspect of it, of now showing where you have all these elements, just like that Pulp Fiction movie. You can now take them apart and put them wherever you want to put them, you know, and make it work. Does it make sense? Yeah, this does make sense this way. Going for a false finish right from the go, you know, and the false finish is my shine, or his shine, you know. So I thought that was great. Thank you for bringing that up, Kristen.
Yeah, it was also interesting the fact that with the Billy Robinson match, the Christopher Daniels match, and even this one. One funny detail that I noticed and I remember somebody telling me about this, is way to establish the heel is to have them walk backwards during before the lockup.
Yeah, you know, so right, the general rule of thumb in pro wrestling is that the heel will always walk backwards, but the face will never. So if we think about it, someone like Ric Flair, right? Ric Flair is always backing up, right? And he's always a shitty heel, really, in his prime. You know, different story when he's older in the 2000s, but back in the day when he's the NWA champ, he's always going backwards, you know. So a face will never do that. A face always wants to go forward and come to the fight, you know. Obviously there's going to come the time, right, you got cheated on, you can back up, you can push off, whatever the case is, but that's just the general rule. Really thinking about it. So now just visually looking at it, maybe we got our ears closed, and we can't hear anybody, we can't hear them flipping anything off, but now just visually looking at the two wrestlers, well, you see one is cowering back, you know, and usually, you know, kind of putting their hands up, and saying, hey, ref, help me out, right? And the face is always coming forward. So yeah, great point to that. Great point.
Jojo has his hand up, so I'll back off.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you. Yes, Joe. We got Joe and then Hannah.
You actually covered up what my question. My question was just to be, if the face is backing up, like that situation, right? Like, let's say I'm a smaller guy wrestling a bigger guy, and we lock up. Obviously, he's gonna overpower me, but as long as I maintain face tendencies, I think it should be good, right?
Right. So you got to think about it like this: like, what is the best thing that a face usually does to show that I'm really badass? They're getting kicked and they're on their knees. They're getting kicked in the face, right? And they're selling, and then they look up and they're like, keep bringing it. You know what I mean? So it's just that thinking of the face is always bring the fight on, you know. So regardless of, hey, I'm being backed up, you know, I'll never retreat as a face. I'll never go run. If I'm the face, I'm never going to go running from the heel. The heel's going to have to leave me laying dead. I will die before I go running as a face, you know. So that's the thinking behind it. Always advancing forward. So Hannah, what were your thoughts on the match, watching the WrestleMania 17 Benoit versus Angle?
I mean, I'll admit it. I had to watch it a few times because at first I was just, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to check. But at first, I mean, I was kind of unsure, I guess, who was a heel based on like our notes, who was a heel, who was a face. But then I started listening to like the commentators, and then like you guys had mentioned, Paul Heyman, and I think it was JR, they were just like, oh, you know, that Benoit is keeping up with him, or that they've never really like submitted to each other, which is shocking. Then I watched it again, and then, you know, I got the cheap heat. And I honestly love the fact that they were just keeping up with each other, and they were just both like, you could tell like after like I think that first takedown that they had, it was just they both backed up, both sweating, they're both red, they're like panting, so you could like tell that they gave each other a really good fight. And I guess on the third time, I really enjoyed the fact that like Kurt cemented the fact that he was a heel, because it was kind of like a cheap shot when the ref got Benoit out of it, and it was just great match. Loved it.
Right. So that's why I always tell the wrestlers and the students that it's so important to abide by the rules, right? So if there are no rules in pro wrestling, then now we're really now kind of even handicapping the heel, because now it doesn't matter. So I think when you said, hey, I had to watch it a couple of times, right? When he punched him in the middle of a wrestling match, right? That should register to you now, because we're talking about it. But I think it's now become a blurred line of maybe in a little bit in today's wrestling, where it's just punching back and forth and fighting, and maybe coming out with a sequence, maybe more like comic book style fighting and stuff like that. So that's why now I always say, hey, that's great, but if everyone's doing it, let's drive home what they used to do in the 80s and even in the 90s. And that's what this is. And so now driving home that he is punching him in the middle of the wrestling match, or even now what somebody talked about where Angle was the one going for the ropes. Benoit was the one wrestling his way out. Right? You have to wrestle out. I actually, when I always tell you guys, right, I wasn't traditionally trained, and I knew how to bump, knew how to run the ropes and do a superplex and stuff like that. But when it came to wrestling, locking up and headlock and stuff like that, I couldn't do it to save my life. I got in there with my Santino brother, Mongo, and Mongo is from Slammers. Slammers, well-respected school out here in Southern California. And we would get in the ring with them, and man, they would just eat my lunch all the time, and I would always go for the ropes, to where they got so annoyed, like, hey, there's no ropes, you better wrestle your way out. And I was like, I don't know how to wrestle my way out, right? But it's really showing that you're going to the ropes because you don't know anymore, right? You want an easy out. You don't want to wrestle your way out. And I think now visually you're also seeing that. I think even Benoit got the ankle lock put on him, and he did reach for the ropes. He actually did grab it, and he got pulled away, right? So now we're being drilled into our head that Angle has been grabbing the ropes, and it's been working for him. Grabbing the ropes, working for him. First time Benoit tries to do it, he gets pulled away, and it gets locked in, and now Benoit is forced to wrestle his way out, and he has to do that forward roll to reverse the ankle lock. And this really, really visually showing you, right? Obviously, Angle went out there and got the heat, right? He was crapping on Texas, talking about don't wear your hats, you're not your cowboy hat, you're not 7 years old anymore. And then maybe even taking a jab at Jim Ross or so. But that also should let you know, right, who is the heel. And they probably did that because they are walking that fine line. You have Benoit, who, right, he's never the baby face, right? That maybe drawn in my head, where the baby face is always excited and like, come on, bring it. He is, right. He's ruthless aggression, and he's also, right, now he would be a face by aggression. I also see him being a heel by aggression. Like I don't see, and they also say, if you ever watch Arn Anderson, and I still want to think, and maybe I got to be in the business a little bit more, know a little bit more. When you see Arn Anderson, when he's face or when he's heel, he's the same wrestler. And it works, it does work, but I think like why it doesn't change. And I think also maybe Benoit might run into that same category where when they're face or they're heel, it's the same wrestler. But it does work, right? They do tweak it. So you have face aggression or heel aggression. And I think that's why they sent Angle out there to really try to get the heat on the mic. And then they really had the commentators working hard to get the match over. So now they had double whammy, especially this being WrestleMania. Of course, they're going to have all the bells and whistles to really help put the match over. When we start as beginners, we're probably not going to have that luxury. Maybe we're lucky enough that a lot of companies are going to be streaming stuff. filming for their YouTube channel and stuff like that. So it'll also give you a heads up on learning all that as we go forward. So who else was on the list? I wanted to give some of their thoughts on the match. Shane, please. You're on mute, my friend. There
Hi,
you
good
go.
morning.
Morning.
Well,
Good
good
morning.
evening
Good
to you.
evening. Yes, good morning for you.
Yeah, just what I love about this match is it's got such a simple breakdown, but the intensity of both of the guys just make it. Like the moves that they both do, even after the shoot part, they're not exactly like very difficult moves. Like suplexes, belly to belly suplexes, snap suplex from Benoit, belly to belly from Angle, and the German suplexes and attempts of like the ankle lock and the crossface. But it's just the intensity that they do. And I was kind of like you before. I used to kind of hate the ending, but the more I think about it now, the more that I think, okay, they've done the shoot part. Nobody's come out on top. They've done the pro wrestling part, and they've just been so intense, and everything's been delivered with such ferocity that the only way it was going to end was like a dusty finish, you know, like the roll up and you know that kind of way. So it doesn't bother me as much anymore. Before it used to really bother me that that's the way that they ended it, but now I can kind of see, you know, that Benoit was so tired from all like the impact and things like that that Angle just took his chance and rolled him up and held the tights. Like, it's a really really cool match though. I love that match. Like, and I think from Angle's takedowns at the start, especially, if you notice with him, he kind of goes for the ankle. He goes so low, as opposed to just going for like the upper thigh when he's taking a leg takedown. That is something that we have a guy that's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. He's a black belt, and he does the exact same thing. It's from that shoot style, and it's just something that I think a lot of people should incorporate more, as opposed to just the lockup. You know,
Right.
go
Yeah.
for that ankle. Even attempt it. You know.
Right. Yeah, yeah, you know what? That's what Sabu used to do. Sabu would, right? I'd watch it on TV or watch it in on the Indies, and Sabu would shoot for the leg. I find myself in the ring with Sabu, and I don't know, I was caught sleeping, and he shoot for the leg. All of a sudden, I roll out of the way, and I should have seen it coming, but it was like, whoa, we didn't talk about this. Like, what are you doing? You know? But I think that a lot more of that is needed in pro wrestling. Just shoot those takedowns, and that one that Angle is doing. Oh man, anybody has a chance. You're down there at somebody's feet, right? I don't know. Maybe you got knocked down and you're in a fight, right? You grab the back of their ankle just like this, and you put your forehead right into their shin, and you pull. They'll go down. They'll go down in a heartbeat. Yeah, they will go down. And a lot of that I learned, like, well, I'm in the ring with somebody and they take me down like that, and I'm holding my shin like, what did you do to me? You know, and then I go in there and try it. I'll probably have done it to Hyde or maybe even Joe, where I'll just go in there and shoot the takedown, and maybe even make them feel a little bit something. I don't want to put them in pain or anything like that, but just kind of human game of chess, really. So. But yeah, anything else you wanted to add to that, Mr. Shane?
No, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I really dig that match just for that shoot aspect of it, of right going that 1, 2, 3 lockup. Now it becomes a different match. It really becomes like kind of like a really a fight. You know, I think there's sometimes when people try to really go out there and they try to do like it's a fight, and they do this too much. They kind of like push their hands away. Hey, just really like feel it out. Like usually, sometimes I'll go in there with my hand on my head like this, and the other hand like there, and they look at me like, what are they doing? And I talk to my friend Rico, who used to wrestle out here in California, and he says you do stuff like that to fake them out, right? They start looking at your head, and then you shoot the takedown. And I asked him, I said, come on, that really works? And he's like, yeah, it does. So I start doing it in pro wrestling, and people look at me like, what the fuck are you doing? But I'll do that to shoot the takedown, try to get the advantage any way I can, shoot them down, pull their ankles, and then I always teach the wrestlers, right? once you feel you lost it, you can't fight the move anymore. You go with it, right? You can't sit there and you can fight my takedown all you want, but now it's a shoot. And in pro wrestling, nobody wants to see a shoot. They don't. They want to see pro wrestling. They really do. Shoots really become uncomfortable, and everything gets quiet. No one knows what's going on. But yeah, that's why if I'm wrestling Hyde and he shoots the takedown and I'm not quick enough to sprawl or kind of break down his takedown and he's got me, then I'll just go with it and I'll actually take a bump. And I think we've seen that in well, I was watching that right now with Guerrero and Benoit, where there was more of the shoot aspect was now if you had it, I'm just going to go with it. So he went for, I think it was Angle went for a fireman's carry, and as soon as he lifted him, Guerrero just threw himself, and it was like a slam, and it looked more pro wrestling esque. So, but yeah. So anybody else want to add their thoughts on that match that they saw before we go into it? All right, so let's see here. Oh, you know what, Maxwell, you had a question, right? About the managers, and I got Sylvia here or Jezebel, and maybe she'll come over here and she'll just jump in and hear it. So what? Let's go to the question, Max. Let me see if I can bring it up here.
I can repeat it if you want.
Okay, yeah, please do.
It was just so during like the match breakdown in the back, or just in general, for managers, do managers get a pitch in the say, or are they just going to say, oh, well, if he's going to do that, then I'll do this? Or are they just kind of written in after and told after the fact? Like when you're in the back going over the match?
Basically, it could happen any which way. There's times where I'm managing Joey and we already have a planned spot that we've been working on. So then I'll be like, hey, are we going to implement that spot? But in general, for the most part, they go over their match and they'll determine if I'm going to have a spot or not. Because you don't want to have a spot every time. You don't want to be a manager and take a bump every time because then people are going to expect it. So with us being managers, you got to kind of know when the right matches that you are going to interfere, or there's some where you're just going to be the cheerleader and you're just going to cheer them on. And people are going to wait for you to interfere, but you won't. So a lot of it's just depending on the match, depending on the storyline that you guys are trying to get over. Is it going to be a program that's going to be more than one match that you're going to wrestle with this particular opponent? Or is it just going to be a one and done and you're out? If it's a one and done, chances are you're going to have a spot. If it's a program, you're not part of the wrestling. Our main jobs as managers is to get the wrestler over, to make sure that the crowd is paying attention to the wrestlers. So it all varies depending on the match and depending on the promotion.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Cool.
And then to add further, for you, like, how can I right now? I'm learning the match breakdown. How can I implement this as a manager, right, or even a referee or commentator, announcer, whatever the case is? So now that you have and know the match breakdown, and now even if you have a chance and the opportunity to be a manager in a match, you will know where spots are, because what they're going to tell you is, hey, Max, on this spot, I need you to grab my leg, And so you're going to go, is it this one or is it that one? And usually if you're questioning it, it's really probably too early. And they're doing a similar move. And just like we talked about, sometimes we'll tell you, hey, Max, after the power slam, I'm going to go to the top rope, push me off the top rope. And maybe I audibled the move. And I do a bulldog power slam earlier on, and you're like, there's the power slam. In my head, I want to do the running power slam, but I never go to the top rope, and now you're confused.
Right.
The way to take that confusion away is because you know where you're at in the match. So when I say, hey, man, after the power slam, push me off the top rope, and you're going to go, when's that? I'm going to say, oh, that's going to be after the shine, after the comeback. And you're going to go, okay, perfect. I know exactly where that's at.
Right.
And it's happened time and time again with managers, because a lot of people think, oh, just be a manager and just stand out there. And they'll say, here's the move, and you can't get the move wrong. First of all, some of these managers don't even know what the moves are, and you always have to ask. Never just nod your head, say, hey, okay, so you said this is a power bomb like move, right? Yeah, I'm going to pick them up like this, and I'm going to bring them down into a pile driver position. That's a gonzo bomb. Okay, perfect. So when I see that, that's when I come in. Yeah, and I'll bip you off the apron or wherever the case is. So that's That's why it's so important to know where we're at in the match. And then even same thing as as a ref. Two wrestlers botch a spot. Everybody, shits on them. At least when my era coming up, I'm pretty sure it still happens. And even if they don't, the fans don't shit on them. You still feel like crap. You know,
Right.
referee is a third person in that match. Really, to know that, don't worry. Patrick Hernandez used to be a great ref at XPW. Would always tell me that, like, don't worry, you're gonna get him back. You're gonna get him back. You got the shine coming up right now. You're gonna get him back with your shine. And he would, because he was sitting there as a referee, and he would go over the match as the two wrestlers would talk about the match. So he would know, hey, you got this cool move coming up. Like, hey, don't let this get you down, because even him, as the ref, saying, "Hey, you are my match, so I need to bring you up." And the best referees, I think Rick Knox has done that. Patrick Hernandez was great at that. But really bringing them up and knowing where to be. They know when. If you know the match breakdown, you know when the match is going to pick up and when it's going to come
Right.
break back down. So yeah, there's a lot of great things about knowing it, even just when it comes to commentators. Hold on, Sylvia wants to add to it here.
Okay. Also, as far as being a ref, or excuse me, as far as being a manager, there's going to be times where the match doesn't go according to plan. So you're going to have to know, sometimes you have to communicate with the opponent for your wrestler and get a point across. So being a heel, if he kind of feeds his head over to you, then you choke him out and you tell him, okay, here's the new spot or whatever. So you always got to, even though it's a manager spot and you think, oh, it's easy, you got to still know the moves. If they're going to tell me, oh, you're going to take a Death Valley driver, and I don't know the move, simply ask, is it going to be a front bump, back bump? What type of bump is it going to be? That way you kind of know which to do. But as a manager, you also got to kind of be like a referee. You got to kind of be one step ahead and read what's going to happen. Because if something
Right.
doesn't happen planned, you got to know when to step in or when not to step in.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
so I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to throw that other part in. So here's Joey again, you guys.
Yeah, no, that helps a lot. Thank you.
All right. So, and to further add, most of us want to be professional wrestlers. Sometimes we come in as a referee. Sometimes we'll come in, we'll get right, just getting our foot in the door. There, they want me to be a manager. Diesel was a wrestler, went into WWE, got his foot in the door as Shawn Michaels' manager, and then beat him to the race, beat him to the championship. And so that's sometimes that's what you just got to take it for what it's worth, and then now all this really now comes into play. So. But yeah, so that'll work there. And I think Matt, I don't think he's here right now. I don't see him. But he had asked a question about social media. Should we be building our social media now? I've heard that wrestlers kind of look down on people that haven't gone through wrestling school and want to try to get themselves over. Well, here's the deal. Like, the world's your oyster. You could do what you want, right? You're going to get heat. Okay, you're going to get heat. But I got to be honest with you, 95% of probably wrestlers are down with it. They don't care. They don't see you as a threat to them. If they are, they want to take you under their wing and help you out, right? Make you an ally or anything like that. And I would start the journey now. So that way, when you start wrestling, you already do have a small following or even a large following because they will see your journey to become a professional wrestler. I mean, we watch a lot of reality shows and we want to see the development of the person from the beginning to the end. And that's what they're seeing actually live on your social media. And I would also drive home the fact, get LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and be on all these different social medias just because, if you want to be a wrestler, not all the promoters are on one social media. Some are just like, hey, you got to email me. Some are, you have to call me. You can't text me, so you just got to learn to work it different ways. But I don't think anyone's going to give you heat. Maybe they will, but just keep doing your thing and don't worry about it, right? The only person we have to worry about is us and getting it over and getting ourselves in there and learning how to do it and learning how to make content, right? Make meaningful content. So important today's day. When I came up, there was nothing about that. I wish I was able just to film something. We got to go to XPW. We got in good with the boss, and he would give us the camera. We'd just go film stuff, and we'd submit it to them and hope that they would put it on television. We don't have to do that now. Just pull out our phone, and we could film ourselves and throw it up there, throw it up to YouTube. You should have YouTube accounts and things like that. Even blogs, because people want to know you. They really do. I get it. Maybe you're going to do a character or whatever the case is, but there's also that line of, I get it. A lot of us old timers will be, hey man, if you're going to be the Undertaker, you got to be the Undertaker 24 hours a day. But it's different. We understand how everything works now. We understand that you're a pro wrestler on TV, and for the most part, maybe uh, everyone's themselves turned up to 10, and sometimes people are playing a character. That's not who I am, and they have no problem saying that, I'm Edge, and then writing I'm Adam Copeland on his Facebook or whatever the case is. Maybe because he has to, I guess. But he could have a public page, so I think that's the bottom line, is that people and your fans are going to want to see you. So starting it now would be a great idea. Do you have to have your name now? No, I don't think you're going to have your name. And whatever you do come up with now, it's probably not going to be what you debut with. Maybe it will. Hopefully it will. But I would say, right, let's go to throw everything to the wall and see what sticks. Do people like your social media name or your pro wrestler name? No, it doesn't have a ring to it. So, and then it really helps you, because everybody that's probably going to be watching you is a fan, and they'll critique you. You're going to hate it at first, right? You want to cuss them out, but then go back and look at it and then just fix it. So, right? Because nobody wants to hear, oh, your shit sucks, right? Right? Nobody wants to hear that. But use it as a tool, utilize it. So, all right. Joe, did you have a question, my friend?
I just want to add to it what you were saying about filming stuff. Like, I wish I filmed my progress, like with weight loss and stuff, because like I feel like that would have been like really good content, but I didn't, and I'm glad that like you kind of encouraged me to do that more now, so I started filming more stuff.
I mean, and also think about it, right? You're all going to WrestleMania, and you're going to have the belt. You're going to hold the belt in the middle of the ring, right? And so when they make that WWE documentary or New Japan documentary or AEW documentary, you're going to wish you had that old footage. You're going to wish you had that old stuff to really go back to, because it's going to make your documentary so much more interesting, right? Everything that we go through, right? Whenever I tell something doesn't go my way, or it's me and Aaron Aguilera trying to get signed to Lucha Underground, getting signed and then never getting on the actual show, right? I just always tell them, oh, it's good for the book, So, throw it all against the wall, see what works and what doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's good for your documentary or your book. So, and then it's also good just to really have and look back to, right? And you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna say, why did Coach tell me to film this? I cringe every time I watch it, because I cringe every time I watch some of my early stuff. It's like terrible, but it is what made you who you are. So, all right. So we're gonna talk a little bit about what Benoit and Angle did, and then hopefully we'll get a chance to watch that match. If not that one, maybe at least the Eddie Guerrero one. Maybe we'll watch that one and see the little bit of the differences in the two, since most of us watched it. But what I want to talk about is, right, the art of the work shoot, and then also calling it in the ring. All right, so you can call a match, and you can call everything in the back, which I don't recommend. You can call beginning, middle, and end, or you can really just go out there and do it, and even call a finish on the fly in the ring. And you say, hey, Bubba, who's going over? Oh, I'll go over with the DDT. Okay, cool, let's do it, And I think that's what makes a wrestler's wrestler, right? So this is where practice meets the unconscious confidence in pro wrestling, right? I believe, and this is something that I believe, that the best matches are actually called in the ring, and they're really built organically, through organic takedowns, through organic wrestling, really shooting for moves, but not trying to hurt anybody, right? We want to really give the crowd our heart. Really sure, and I always tell people, think about it as if this was real, right? We go into all the training, and that's why I say it, right? Real, whatever. We go through all the training and drills, and it's choreographed, and we say who's going to win or lose. But I think as a pro wrestler, you have to go into the game as if this is 100% legitimate, as if I watched it when the first time I was a fan. And if you think that way, right, a work shoot is not about hurting anybody. It's not about being, it's not about being irresponsible. It's not about being, unsafe to work with, right? But also, what's safe in wrestling? Nothing's safe. So when people say work safe, there to a certain extent, yes, you can work safe. I've seen a back roll. Back rolls almost killed somebody. So I've seen small moves, just really tear somebody's leg up to where you're like, it's not healed yet, and they're like, no, it's gangrene, and they might amputate it, and you're like, geez, right? So I think there's nothing safe in professional wrestling. We do it because we love it. So when people talk about safe, it's I'm not purposely hurting you. I'm hitting you in a safe place, right? I'm not punching you in the jaw with my knuckles. I'm more so giving you a club to your broad back with my forearm. You're gonna feel it, but you're not going to be injured at the end of the day. So that's what they talk about when they say safe, right? Because a bump itself is 35-mile-an-hour car accident, every single one. That's tell your doctor, hey, that's not safe, right? So, all right. So in the realm of thinking of, wrestling, say we're not trying to hurt anybody when I say shoot. So don't get that into your head about it's a shoot and I'm trying to get somebody in an ankle lock and twist it. It's not, it has nothing to do with that. It's about gaining control. And it's about making everything you do look real, but most importantly, so now if I have Hyde in a headlock and he wants to reverse it, or he wants to put a hammerlock on me, he wants to capture, sneak in a headlock, maybe he even wants to even sneak out and get a waist lock. If he has it on me, just because he's going for a move doesn't mean I'm going to let him apply it to me. Okay? So some would say, well, now you're shooting on him, right? Well, I'm applying pressure to let him know that you cannot move right now, but I'm not applying pressure to where it hurts. And all I'm actually asking him to do is earn it. Wrestle harder, wrestle with a snap in your step, right? Really go for it. Don't give me anything lackadaisical. Don't give me anything cheap. Don't make me look weak where you just slip your hand in and it makes my headlock look like I had no grip whatsoever. I want you to really earn it. So he tries it once and it's weak and I won't let it go. He tries it again. Maybe it's strong at that point, but now I'm playing the game with him. Work harder. I'll give it to you. Just work harder. He tries it again, and I don't give it to him. Now maybe he tries something different, slips behind me into the waistlock and pulls pushes me down by my lower back and pulls my ankle. And now I'm flat on my face. I'm going to give it to him, right? Because he earned it. So that's really what it is. And really, when you think about it, right, if you're in the ring with it, you're going to feel the muscles and you're going to feel like, wow, there's real strength here. Am I in a fight? No, we're not in a fight. I just want you to earn it. It might get a little bit rougher. Yeah. Are you going to get a mat burn? Probably. Am I going to maybe grind the forearm across the face? Yeah. Am I going to grind it to the point that you think your cheek's going to break? No, not at all. Absolutely not. So it's really just earning a lot of your moves, or say Hyde does the same thing. He locks up and grabs me in a headlock, same move, or even a waist lock. And I feel the grip is really loose, and what we have in wrestling is called gaps. Gaps are, if I have him in the headlock, right? Imagine his head was this small. There's no gap here. I cannot put my hand through here. Now, if I have his head and I can see right through the wall behind me and his head is in there, that's a gap. That's really loose. That's really weak. I don't want that. Now he's making me look weak because now I got to sell his weak headlock. So what I would do, once he grabs that weak headlock, I'm going to just shoot for something else right away, quickly. And he's probably not thinking what I'm thinking. He's not thinking I'm going to make him earn it. So now at this point, I'm outschooling him and outclassing him. And if it's my student, right, 42-year-old Chaos, I'm encouraging him, get something back, out wrestle me. If it's 22-year-old Chaos and I got a chip on my shoulder, I don't care about you. I'm just going to outclass you, outschool you. And I don't care if you get any shine in. And I'm just going to cut you off and start working you over, right? This is not my responsibility to get your shine in. If I'm working with you, I should give you a shine. But what's going to happen is maybe he pissed me off with that weak headlock with the gap. Now I'm like, F his shine. Really. Someone messes up a spot, they're going to say, no, forget your drop kick, bro. You mess up the spot. We're not going to that now. And people get really angry. My buddy Billy Messiah, he used to get so incredibly angry if something didn't go right in the match, where it'd be like, it's all right, man, we'll get him next time. And he would just be in a bad mood, and I would know it. And I'd be like, man, we got to try to get him out of this bad mood, and I would never have that feeling. I'd get mad at the moment after the match. I'd be like, no one got hurt. It's all right. We'll get him next time. But Messiah would get extremely mad. And you're going to run into those wrestlers that you mess up in the middle of their match. You're messing up their match. They might go a little stiffer on you. They're definitely probably going to take out your shine and just go to the heat, And then good luck. Maybe if you do good in the heat, maybe they'll give you the comeback. But and that usually happens when you're in there with a veteran and you're young and you get scared and you're like, wow, what did I do to piss somebody off? And that's just how it works. And at that point, you're like, I just want to just do everything they're telling me to do. Just do everything they're telling me to do, because I don't know what's going on. And that having that fear is really scary in the middle of a match, right? Because we're going into it thinking, I'm trusting you with my body, So what I do to really avoid that is we really will try to make the wrestlers, and really not recently in the last 2 years, but coming up with our wrestling school, everybody would grapple. People started breaking too many bones, but we would grapple. I don't know. Hi, did we grapple with you? Like hold, like shoot wrestling, at least pinning you down, control, big brother control or anything like that?
No.
No grappling, right? I think it came to a point where people were fighting the takedowns. We'd go to fighting the takedowns, break their ankle, or then we'd go to the knees. And so it'd get really rough. And then we'd say, let's just focus on the pro wrestling. But that's what really cut the teeth in Santino Brothers, was that because as I was coming up, you had to take care of yourself and you had to know how to wrestle, and you had to know how to if someone was trying to shoot on you, how to get out of the move. And that's where a lot of my skill came from, was just having to know it in case somebody went crazy on you, right? They would say, they would wrestle Sabu would wrestle my Uncle Supreme, and they would say, hey, they would tell Sabu, hey, this guy's pretty hardcore. And Sabu, I remember without losing a beat, he'd say, that's okay, I got a spike in my boot. And I went over and told my uncle, like, hey, man, he's got a spike in his boot. My uncle was like, yeah, that's okay. Like, we'll see what happens. Like these two badasses going in. And they were great friends, and they wrestled and stuff like that. So, but that's how it was coming up. Dude's got a spike in his boot. Why? Probably because some shit went down before, and that's how it was. I pray that nothing ever like that has to happen with you. And I think that's why in the recent years we stopped doing the crazy hold for hold submission style wrestling, and really just focusing on the pro wrestling aspect of it. But if you do, I would definitely roll around. You don't know what to do, just get in there and big brother, big sister somebody. What's that mean? Just you're on top of them and you're pushing their shoulders to the ground where they can't get up. Just control their body. That's all I would ask you to do at first, right? Because if you could do that, and so if you're on your back and you can now reverse it and get on top of them, you can get away and you can protect yourself at least, right? Then if you want to up the ante, then you start looking into the submissions, where to choke, right? You choke on the bone, right here on the throat, and hook it in there, and you push their head forward. You start thinking about these moves, and how they work. Even the pro wrestling moves that you'll learn are legitimate if you apply them, so. But that was a lot about how I had to come up, which was protecting yourself. But then I found that skill useful in this work shoot that I would try to implement, and then I would see and say, what are these guys doing? How do they call in that? And I would see some, not necessarily maybe Angle and Benoit, but I would see other wrestlers that would wrestle like that, and I would say, how do they call that? Like, how is that called? Like, what do they do? They say, I'm going to go for first, you reverse it, you reverse back and forth. And then I realized, oh, you don't call it. You just go. And then when you got someone that's really up to your skill level and they go back and forth with you, I go in, shoot the waist lock. They don't want to be in the waist lock. They go down, dig down deep and actually break your hand. And you're like, I had a good grip and they broke it, right? I don't have a death grip, because this is pro wrestling and there is the work. It's not just shoot. So always going back to thinking about that, but it's really just making it look rough and tough. Am I going to get squeezed in the waist a little bit? Yeah, maybe, and then you have to adapt to your wrestler. If I'm wrestling Kurt Angle, Oh yeah, 100%. I'd say, Kurt, can we do that, please? Let's try to hey, school me if you have to. I would love it. If you're maybe wrestling John Cena, he might not be about that. Maybe Randy Orton might not be about that. No, don't be doing that bullshit to me. So you have to know what wrestlers you can and cannot do that with. And right, you would see that with Angle. He wasn't doing that exact with Shawn Michaels. He knew that when he got in there with Benoit and when he got in there with Guerrero, that he could take it to that level of wrestling because he knew what type of wrestlers they were, right? Maybe they even talked to them. So I don't want you to ever go in and just be trying to work shoot people. Maybe if you're the veteran, you got all the respect to do it. 100%, no one's going to say anything to you, right? Undertaker gets in
Hey,
with
Coach,
you. Yes. Who's
do
that?
you think that Angle had to deal with because he was an Olympic gold medalist? People wanted to test their wrestling skills against him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely, like even
okay.
Pewter, right?
I mean,
Pewter.
I think that's what I really got out of that match with Angle and Benoit was I felt like Benoit, he wanted to test himself.
Yeah, I mean, right, because that's the same thing I said. I would love to go in there with Angle. Same thing I'm telling you with like when I went in there with Chris Daniels and I was really young. I didn't call anything, but I was able to keep up with him at his speed, right? I was able to test myself. I would love to get in the ring with Angle and see like how would I fare with what they're doing. Obviously, if we're doing Olympic wrestling, I don't know if I have a chance. I might. I got to believe in myself, right? Any man with two hands has got a chance, right? So. But yeah, they're definitely being the Olympic gold champion. They're going to test him right with the tough enough. And Daniel Pewter had him. He totally had him in that key lock. Was it Kimura key lock or something like that? And he could have just really popped his shoulder out at a moment's notice. Referee quick thinking, shoulders are down because we are wrestling and counted it. And I thought at the end of the day, damn that I don't even know who it was, but damn that ref was good at that moment's notice to know. And let me just count it, right? Because they really, I mean, we all really thought you're going to go in. The Kurt Angle, gold medalist, he's going to outclass everybody here, right? But he's going in there with a MMA fighter. Now that's a different story than Olympic wrestling, So. But yeah, they're totally going to want to test them, and even test them, even if I'm working with you. This is what's going to happen a lot in pro wrestling. Sabu would kick me right in the face with his foot, like the foot right in my face. And I was like, and I knew he had a problem at first because they wanted me to wrestle Hoovy. Hoovy didn't want to wrestle or didn't want to lose to me. Hoovy went to Sabu, who was his buddy, and politicked. Sabu went to the boss and said, hey man, Chaos is too young. He ain't ready to wrestle Hoovy, this, that, and the other. Sabu's opponent didn't show up. So now the boss was so pissed, said, hey, I'm going to make it a three-way. Chaos, Juventud, and Sabu. So Sabu is a little like, fuck this guy. And I'm over here heartbroken because Sabu is the guy, man. I'm watching him at the Punta Boys and Girls Club and saying, that's what I want to do. And he's over here right in front of my face, shitting on me. My heart's breaking and I'm in the match. I'm like, whatever. All right, I got to go do this match. And so I wrestled this match. I wrestled my heart out as best I could because I'm still wrestling Sabu and even Hoovy. And at one point, I'm pinning Hoovy and Sabu just kicks me right in the friggin' face, like just blatantly, straight up kicks me right in the face. I'm not gonna try to shoot on him. First of all, I probably couldn't. He was jacked. And also like right, one of your heroes looking up to him. And so I'm thinking, man, never meet your heroes. They're all assholes. That sucks. So after the match, fast forward, Sabu actually comes up to me and says, hey man, I just want to let you know I was wrong. You actually can go. And, oh man, my chest, I was all deflated. My chest pumps up like, really, Sabu, you think so? And then he goes, oh, hey, that kick, I kicked you right in the face. Hey, I got this trick knee, man. And yeah, I can't control it sometimes. And I sat for a couple of years thinking, oh yeah, that's a trick knee. Now I know better. He just kicked me right in the face. But he kicked me right in the face with a smile because I would do that. I'll hit you right in the face and I'll go, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. And that's what you're going to have to deal with in wrestling. And that's why I always have this huge speech about pro wrestlers are tough. You got to be tough. You got to get tough or you better learn it. Learn how to be tough because, pro wrestlers are tough. People would ask, how do you do that? Pro wrestlers are fucking tough. That's just everything we do is real. Like, you know what I mean? That's how we do it. It's just, we're fucking tough. You're gonna get kicked right in the face by your fucking hero, and it's gonna make you feel like shit, and also gonna hurt. And how you gonna get through that? Well, I didn't punk out. I delivered the match to where he said, "Hey, you can go." But you're gonna deal with that in wrestling. You know, people are gonna hit you right in the face and say, "Oh, I'm sorry." Fucking liars. Fucking liars. That's why I'll always say, hey, ain't no friends in the wrestling business, you know? And I'll still stand by that until it's proven to me different. I do have a lot of great friends in the wrestling business, but I think as a most part, I think about it as I don't trust people. Kristen, you have a question?
Oh, just a slight comment to add on to the whole pro wrestlers needing to be tough. And
Yes, please.
yeah, I had mentioned a while back, I think the first class, about the Soul Count Censored articles. And funny enough, even though at first I kind of wilted when I read a couple of them, eventually I kind of used that as motivation to finally get better. And
Yeah.
it and now I, if anybody were to shit talk my stuff, I'm basically mostly like, okay.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you have to, right? You got to either figure out, am I going to waste my time and try to fire back, or am I going to use it as motivation to make me better? Right? The same way you did. And you know, they're writing that crap about you. You're using it to fuel your fire. You know, the same way that you could have and I could have got kicked in the face. I could have just crawled into my turtle shell and just said, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore," and then just went about my way. But instead, you know, you pursue more, you go further and march further, because right, not only physically tough and getting kicked in the teeth and getting your teeth knocked out, but mentally tough. You know, you have to be, you know, every which way. You have to be emotionally tough in this wrestling business. You have to have thick skin, you know, because right, you're gonna work incredibly hard, and someone's gonna say you suck. Oh, fuck you. You get so mad and you want to give them all the attention, even though there's 100 people saying, I love what you do. It's just that one person that you're like, I want to get at you, right? You don't have time for that. Just, you got 100 people that love you, you know? So, but yeah, just to kind of close out on the art of the work shoot, right? Making your opponent earn their move or spot by pushing them to fire up, right? An example, I wrenched a headlock. When they give you something weak or sloppy or attempted a reversal, making them work hard to get the said reversal. Now apply that logic to other aspects of your pro wrestling match, right? So now you're working with them, but you're making them earn it. Now it's making the match a lot better. Now this is the spot. We don't need a spot, right? Just like Benoit proved to us that the spot was him out wrestling Kurt Angle, you know, at WrestleMania, I might add, right? People might think you want to do a lot more at WrestleMania, but he wanted to show that his shine was that he was out wrestling the Olympic gold medalist. So, any questions on the work shoot part of it? All pretty good, pretty gravy. Okay, so now let's talk about calling in the ring, right? So how do we actually just call it in the ring? I take two wrestlers and I say, Willie and Hyde, go and do a match, and I'll do that a lot, you know, and just say, go in there, and Hyde will look back. Can we go over? No, just get in the ring right now. And they're like, well, what's the DDT? You're up. Right? He's trying to buy himself some time. But yeah, just really going in there and doing it, right? How can you do that? Right. Number one, the match breakdown. That's gonna save you, right? And you could implement it anywhere you want. You just know where you have to go. You don't have to even worry about the spots, you know. And then also, can we just call it in the ring? Practice, right? Just practice and practicing it over and over. But now to give you something practical, like how would you actually do that? How do you just really go out there and call in the ring? Okay, I know the aspects and the elements of where the match is broken down and everything like that. But how do I go from, you know, I establish face first heel, maybe right through the curtain and through my gear. And now we're locking up and we're actually hold to hold, and hold to hold, we're right there and we can actually feel it. But how do I go and actually now just call it in the ring? Well, When you practice, it starts very minimal. Duck a clothesline. Give me a clothesline. Simple as that. Once you get comfortable with duck a clothesline, give me a clothesline, then you add to it. You know, duck a clothesline, or duck 2 clotheslines, catch my duck 2 clotheslines, give me a clothesline. Okay, third time, duck 2 clotheslines, but on the second clothesline, catch it and give me a backslide, kick out, then give me that clothesline. Right? And so you just keep adding to it. And right, when you keep adding to it, what is that? Well, that's a spot. You know, so now you're building your spot. And sometimes people make a spot that'll last a minute, even 2 minutes. And when you think 2 minutes doesn't sound long, 2 minutes is an incredibly long spot with a lot of stuff in it. You know, I hope that in the 2 minutes that they would sell, but usually a spot is moving. You know, so just really calling it. So now you go, okay, so hey, I want you to go up and over, duck the 2 lines, catch me on the backslide, then give me the clothesline. And you start building it. And then once you get tired of that sequence, you change it all up. You know, you throw a back elbow in there instead, you know. I'm going to pick you up for the body slam, slip down behind me. I turn around, give me a back elbow. All right, I'll pick you up for the body slam, slip down behind me, push my back. I'll give you a back elbow duck. I'll hit you with the second one. Just adding little by little to the spots. And that's how you can start practicing it in the ring, right? Just calling it as the guys that I grew up with, just, hey, you just learn how to call it in the ring, brother. But I learned that when you just start taking these little spots and then just grow them from there, it starts making it a lot easier. Because then you don't just keep calling forever. It's not going to be duck 2 clotheslines, up and over, backslide, kick out, duck another clothesline, take a clothesline, cover, kick. It has to end, right? It has to end. Because why does it have to end? Because we know our match breakdown. We know that, well, a shine, you know, goes to a climax point, right? We don't want to come back down. We want to keep just building it up. So it has to come to an end. You know, where are we at? Well, your shine's going to come to a cutoff, or your comeback's going to come to a finish, the resolution. So as we do that, we could just implement this and put it in there. So that's one way to do it. Second way is I can sit at home and call a spot in my head, and I say, well, the spot that I want to do is I want to flag Hyde out. I want to throw a punch. He blocks it. He guts me. He floats over into a sunset flip until I kick out and I get him into that Daniel Bryan kind of like I think it's a crippler crossface nearly. Maybe it's a Gene LaBelle lock, I think it is. And I'll put you in that. So I'll have that in my head. Okay, flag out, he throws the punch, or I throw the punch, he blocks it, he guts me, he flips in, sunset flip, kicks out, but since he's hooking me, I have his leg and I'll get into the LaBelle lock. Okay, so now what I say to myself, I know what I want to do. All I have to do is now communicate this to Hyde in the middle of the ring. And so when we do it, I wouldn't just say, Hyde, here's the spot. And I wouldn't sit there and say, Hyde, I'll flag you out, block my punch, gut me, sunset flip, and I'll put you in the bell lock, right? Too long. I'm sitting there. So if whatever it is, if I lock up and I'm pushing him back, but Hyde, I'm going to flag you out, right? This is already too long. Flag you out, block my punch, gut me, sunset flip, I'll get you into the bell lock. We're just sitting there. We could really call all that and work it, but the way I would call it would be probably for going to that spot where probably already going for the hold. I got him in the headlock, and I would say, get ready. You're going to flag me out, block my punch, gut me, wrench it, and I'll work it, and I'll hit him, and I'll take him over, and I'll head smash him, and I'll headbutt him, and I'll put him back in the headlock, and I'll headlock taking him over, and I'll say, you got it? And he'll be like, yeah, I got it. Okay, then sunset flip me, and then count to 2, and I'll get you into the bell lock, right? Yeah, all right, I get in. Now, hit him again, and I'll take him. I'll give him a gut. I'll give him a little choke chop. I'll head smash him again, put him in that headlock, and say, you got it? Yeah, all right. Yeah, flag out, block my punch, gut, sunset flip, LaBelle lock. Gotcha. All right, here we go. Now let's put it in our back pocket. We don't even have to go right now. Now let's fight. All right, so now get out of my headlock, and I'm going to break it. So he reverses the headlock. I break it. I go for the punch. He blocks. He hits me. Go for the punch. He blocks. He hits me. Go for the punch. He blocks. He hits me. He goes to whip. I reverse it. or double reverse, right? Because I would probably even say that in the middle of the match, reverse it. Oh shit, I got to be there. Okay, double reverse, flag him out, throw him the punch, and we go to the spot. So I always call it, work, call the rest of it, work a little bit, make sure we have it, put it in our back pocket, and we'll get to it now. Let's just add work in there. Stomp in the back. What are you working a body part? Go to work on the body part. Know that this is the hope spot that's going to come in, right? This is the hope spot that he has. That's what we just built right there. And so that's probably the best way that I like to do it. I like to have a spot ready to go, maybe a spot or two. Then it allows me to be organic in my building, because maybe sometimes I'll say flag out and I meant up and over. How many times I do that, Hyde? I'll say flag out and I'll be, oh man, I know I said flag out high, but I meant up and over. Now that changed the dynamic of the whole match, or at least, excuse me, the whole spot. And now you just got to work. Oh well, he's expecting that flag. Now I just pick him up and we just try to figure out how to get to a sunset flip, because we know that's our end spot. So maybe our sunset flip won't be from the apron to the ring. It'll be just right in the middle of the ring, and that'll happen, sometimes. So I like to do that a lot on teaching myself, and it challenges me, and it tests myself to really see if I can get this spot across. And then, okay, maybe Hyde's easy. Who's one of the rougher wrestlers to get in there and wrestle? Can I get this spot across? Who does everyone complain about that? Oh, I don't like working with this person. I'll try to go in there and test myself. All right, let me see, because I'm supposed to be the man. I want to be like Ric Flair, and I want to be able to wrestle a broomstick, and people are going to call it a 5-star. So I'll like to really push myself. It's easy, and I'll always say this, and a lot of coaches, or every other coach except me, will say you have to wrestle people that are better than you in order to get better. I agree with them 100%. I also think that there's the other realm of wrestling people that are not any good and really upping their level and bringing them up. And that's the challenge that I want, and that I want to take, right? I get in there with Kurt Angle. Well, if you have a shitty match, then you're just shitty. You're just a shitty wrestler, because who's going to have a bad match with Angle, So I always like to think that way too, right? So I don't want to always just catch myself wrestling the best wrestlers, because then they take care of me, they carry me. And then when I find myself in there with a subpar wrestler, am I going to look crappy because I've been just letting everybody else carry me? Because what does it say for them, right? When you go out there and you say, I have to wrestle everybody that's better than me. Okay, what is okay, just take me for example. Okay, so Chaos is better than you. What do I get out of it? You're not better than me, so what do I get out of it? I have to figure out, right? So in order for you to wrestle people that are better than you, there's someone sitting there and saying, well, I'm wrestling someone that's under me every single time, right? So that's why I say, hey, I love that wrestling someone that's under me. I'm going to elevate them, and bring them. That's the confidence you should have going into this. You have to have the confidence in order to be a professional wrestler. I don't care what your gimmick or character or personality is, So, so those are two ways to call in the ring, right? You start calling short spots, from calling the clothesline to calling a duck a clothesline, take one. And as you get better, you add more, so on and so forth, right? And then you can also call your spots at home, even write your spots down at home. Or if you're watching wrestling, writing your spots down. And you probably should be watching wrestling like that now with a notepad. Just if you ever see anything cool, write it down. This is something I want to do. Maybe you're not even there yet, right? You haven't even done a roll or taken a bump yet. But write it down, because you not remember it. And there's so many moves. Like, you ever hear the old saying, I forgot more than you know. And right, it sounds like a cool saying. And it just sounds like a cool saying. I really believe that. Like, I forgot a lot of stuff. It's not even cool for me to say it. It's just like, I wish I remembered all that. Joe, you had a question, sir.
Coach, in regards to calling stuff in the ring, as a face, and if you're taking heat and you're fighting back, should you call how you want to get cut off, or should you just leave that up to like the heel?
No, I mean, if you have an idea, you definitely have to apply your idea. If I have something else in mind, then just go with what I want. But 9 times out of 10, I want you to do what you're comfortable with. I want you to do, because if you say, hey, man, I could cut me off with this because I'll make you look great. All right, because the only cutoff I was going to do was just a clothesline. So if you can do an inside-out clothesline, but I got to give it with my left instead of my right, I'll do it, because you're going to make me look good, right? And that's what wrestling is about, right? Joe makes me look like $1,000,000. I make Joe look like $1,000,000. And at the end of the night, then we have a great match, So that's what I would do. Always give your opinion, right? Keep your ears open, your mouth shut. But always try to say, hey, do you think I could do this as a cutoff? Because even if you don't know, let the veteran tell you, hey, no, kid, we don't want to use that as a cutoff because I'm working your neck, so I don't want to cut you off with the leg. And then you go, oh, okay, now I understand. It teaches you what's going on, right? Because otherwise, then you're just listening to them and doing it because they told you to do it, and it's a lot harder to learn that way, as opposed to knowing why you're doing it. Max, did you have a question? You didn't? Okay, Joe, you had another one? Joe and Hyde?
Is that philosophy the same when you're calling it like while you're in the match, like just like hey I'm fighting back, give me a boot? Is that something you should do, or should you just let them drive the match?
No, if you got it, tell me. I want you to. I'm sure there's a wrestler that says, just shut up, kid. I'll call everything. I'm sure there's a lot of wrestlers like that. But for me, the more you can help me out, I ain't got to call your shit now. I could just worry about my cool stuff. I want to do, okay, man, a up and over. I'll duck your line. I'll hit the ropes. I'll give you a power slam. I go to the top rope, leg drop. I might not think about that because I'm thinking about your cutoff. So if you got something, I would say, hey, and then maybe even say, so now I think maybe you're asking like you don't want to piss nobody off. You say, hey, you can cut me off with this. And the guy will go, nah. Or he'll say, hell yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? One or the other. So I would definitely apply that because it's going to help me out, because I might go back and say, I don't want to wrestle Joe no more, man. He made me work so fucking hard. And then someone's going to go, oh my God, right? Dude, he makes you work so hard, right? He has no suggestions. And you're like, yeah, man, I want somebody with a heartbeat, So yeah, definitely apply it, right? We're keeping our mouths shut and ears open, but we still are part of this match, right? And I think as a veteran, you'll get the vibe. You'll get the vibe. I called three things. He was like, get out of here. You'll get the vibe. And you just go, okay, I'll just listen to him, whatever he wants. And then if you have this ability, you'll get veterans, right? They'll act really big. And they go in there and they're forget their spot. So then you gotta have that ability to just take control, get your stuff in, and then they start listening to you. Because when you mess up in the middle of the ring, you're looking for a lifeline. And so if Joe just starts turning it on, I'd be so thankful. So that's why at least I like to go in there and say, hey, this is our match. Hey, and I'll even tell you guys, hey, so hey, help me. Hey, help me if I forget, man. You know what I mean? But that's why I always say it. I like to just call it right then and there in the ring. I'll have an idea of what I want to do. If we get to it, we get to it. If not, we'll get home. Mr. Hyde, do you have a question on that?
So when you were saying like, I'm not gonna do a cutoff on the leg because I'm working the neck, could you still do that and end the cutoff with doing something to the neck? Like if you trip and then you like drop the elbow onto the neck. Oh fuck! Like
yeah, absolutely.
Because I've wanted to do that, but then it's like, no, like you have to cut off the body part that you're working. It's like, well, I could make it work, but if that's not the way that it's not going to make sense, then I'm not going to do it.
Right. So the majority of Ronda Rousey's fight, she went in there. Her game plan was looking for the armbar. She'll take a rear naked choke if it's there. Like, you know what I mean? Her game plan is I want to rip the arm off because she wants so many matches with the armbar. That's what she's working on. But she'll take whatever's there. So you definitely can, right? Just you have to be that creative, go through that creative process to make it make sense. Say, hey, listen, I'm gonna cut you off with this, but then I'm gonna drop. I won't actually hurt the body part. The leg is gonna be to wound you. I'm gonna hurt your neck 3 moves after that. You know what I mean? Then I see the blood. Maybe I hurt your leg and I don't see the blood, right? Because a lot of people will say, like, if in the realm of wrestling being real and Chaos being a real pro wrestler, I wouldn't want to work the leg. If I got you down by hitting your leg, that's great, but I wouldn't want to stay on the leg. Just my leg lock skills or whatever aren't as aren't up to par as maybe working the back or the neck or the arm, or even the abs or anything like that. So that's just me in the realm of this is real. So if you think about that, and so that's how I would explain to my agent, and the agent would go, shut the fuck up. Or he's like, okay, I get it, because that's what it is. It's about selling yourself. That's what wrestling is. It's about selling yourself, selling what you're doing, selling this is the dead man, selling this is guy's the rattlesnake, this is the pompous rock, selling who you are, and that's what it's going to take to really sell your ideas. No one's just going to say, hey, Hyde, we're going to put the belt on you and we're going to give you this great storyline and this great storyline and this great story. Hey, it might happen and I hope it does. But if not, then it's going to take you to be pitching ideas, pitching a lot of ideas and really trying to get it over. So I think that's just you selling yourself again. So sell yourself on that. Hey, I want to cut off the leg, but then I want to work the neck. Make it make sense,
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right. So,
Hey, coach.
yes.
Hi. So I'm
Hi.
just curious in terms of like for the referee. So in terms of like calling the spots between like the wrestlers, like should the referee know which one, like who's actually calling the spot, like the veteran or the rookie or both, I guess.
It's right. So it's good for the referee to know. Okay. Is it necessary for the referee to know? No, not at all.
Okay.
Like I even think in some of the matches in WWE, like when it comes to WrestleMania and they don't want to give away the spoilers and have it get out, like the referee doesn't even know who's going to win. They just have to really count the count. So, and that's why I like if this was referee class, I would always teach the referees, if the shoulder's down, you count it. If the shoulder's not down, don't count it. So it's my job as a wrestler to kick out. So it's good to know for the referee to know, but it's definitely not necessary. Referee will ask, "What's the finish?" A good ref will
Okay.
ask, "Hey, what's the in the middle of the match?" Because we're all three of us, we're all in the match together. Hey, what's the finish? And I might want Hyde in on what's going on. Hey, ref, there's a spot at the end of the Angle Benoit match where I lift him up and the referee gets hit and I get put into the crippled crossface. So you need them to be on where it's at. So, but not
Okay.
necessary,
Okay. Thank you.
of course. Okay, so let's talk about working on the fly. So we talked about the art of the work shoot. We talked about calling it in the ring, and right now working on the fly, right? So we talked about two different aspects of calling it in the ring. Calling it in the ring where we're both working together and we're going to get to the end. But also the aspect of I'm telling Hyde and Willie, get in there right now and go. Just go. Right? Tracy Smothers and Chaos Wrestling, and they say your music's on, just go. Ooh, calling it right now. I have no clue what we're going to do. Once again, you go back to your match breakdown and it helps you out, right? I have to establish face and heel. That's all you gotta know. So if you're heel, you go out there and you just start getting the crowd, right? When I was in there with Negro Casas or even Tracy Smothers, one thing they said, well, this is all calling on the fly, they were like, get the crowd into it, right? Tracy, get the crowd into it, right? And so you're like, I don't know what to do. And you start clapping, right? Like, right? Because I'm a young kid. But really, that's the first thing he's doing, establishing this kid's the face, and Tracy's over there doing his FBI gimmick, fuck you, this, that, and the other, right? Establishing he's the heel, and then they're really going in on there and wrestling, and he'd get me in a move, and he'd say, out wrestle me, and he would just, out wrestle me, and I would go, and just really listen to him. So really, I had no clue of a match structure of what was next, heat or anything like that. Obviously, Tracy Smothers knew, and he was able to guide me through that match, right? Knowing the match psychology and the breakdown is key to working on the fly. It makes it, I'm not saying that you can't do it, but it makes it so much easier for you, right? Having the ability to listen and execute are skills that will help you in building the confidence to work on the fly, right? So now that's actually talking about how is your move execution? Are you confident in any move that you hit? And you have to have that confidence. I can hit any move, power bomb, or I'll let you know, hey, I don't want to power bomb you. I don't want my legs to buckle and make you look like shit, or worse yet, tear my MCL. You know, but you have to have that confidence in the ring. It's not like you're just going to come out of wrestling school and maybe you can do the moves on average, but you're not confident. It's going to be very hard to difficult to impossible to probably call it on the fly in the ring, you know. Let me ask Hyde, like, how do you feel when you went from me just saying, hey, get in there and call and just do it, go, like what's going through your head?
Like at first,
Yeah, like what's going through your head? Did you feel that you had the confidence in order to do that?
no, but the more I did it, the less stressed I got and the more I enjoyed it. So like now I could do it like way fucking better. So it just takes like just reps, you know.
Right, it takes reps. It takes you giving yourself the opportunity to fail. Right? I think far too many of us don't want to give ourselves the opportunity to fail. We're scared to fail, but please do. You know, it's going to help you on it, but you really have to gain the confidence in every move that you do, from a body slam to anything, right? Because if we're calling it on the fly, and I say, I don't know, Frankensteiner, I hope you have the confidence to be able to do it. I'm not trying to call moves to try to get you. You know, I'm not trying to get you because I want you to be able to hit the move. But sometimes what may be basic and average to me, you may be like, I've never done that. You know, so you got to have that utmost confidence to say, running Rana instead. I don't know. Or what move can you do instead? And say that, and I'll go, okay, cool, that's cool. Because I want to listen to you, and I want to bring the best out of you. I don't want you just to just do my match. But it'll happen 9 times. I always say 9, you know, but majority of time, the newbies will not say anything, and I'll have to call everything. And I want you to start applying whatever you have in your mind, and I'll let you know, shut up. But you have to build that confidence. You won't build that confidence if you don't speak up. You know, you have to be able to speak up. You have to have the unconscious confidence when doing a body slam or a German suplex or a superplex or anything like that. Um, so in order to be able to get that confidence to go in there and call it on the fly, because you don't want to go out there and have a move and you can't do it. That's going to
Well,
just really bring it down.
what helps too is on the day when you do learn the move, you like do it like 20 times on like the mat, and then you practice it like on the regular like ring, and like by the end of the day, you know if you have it or not, and if you don't have that move, then you need to work on it if you want to keep it, and if it doesn't work out for you, then okay, I need to find something that I can do comfortable. But you'll know on the day of when you actually do that move, like, oh, I'm good at this one. Oh, I need work on this one. You know.
And for the most part, when you start, so you're like, man, this is a lot of information coming. When you start, all you have to do is have the ability to listen, be coachable, and follow a lead. And if you can do that, what starts happening is you're like, man, I'm in there with Hyde and Chaos, and Willie's the new guy, and we're just heat drilling him. Right? What is heat drilling? That means we're beating him down, right? We're either working a body part or whatever. And what happens when we start doing this drill, a lot of beginners think it's witty to just get away from us really quick and make a tag. And then what happens to me and Hyde, we go, God damn it. Not because we want, and then I think the student thinks, oh, they just wanted to keep beating me down, right? And is it a beat down? No. Is it a little rough? Yeah, it's rougher. Getting chopped, getting clubbed to the back, right? Clothesline is like, holy shit, I never felt a clothesline like that. I guess coach was taking it easy earlier, But what happens is you're taking all these moves, and the beginner usually thinks it's weird to get away because it's my turn to get away and let's tag and let somebody else jump in. But what happens is you now took all this heat and you just went and tagged and got out. In the realm of wrestling, we were waiting to give you a comeback if you earned it. Obviously, we want you to earn your comeback. It comes to the point of like, man, Hyde and Chaos aren't giving me shit. Let me punch him in the stomach, and let me punch him a little harder in a safe place, right in that gut. Maybe I can make him lose his air. Right now, give me a second. I'll start unloading on them. And if you start doing that, I'll feel where are we in the match? Hey, you know what? It's about time he's starting to mount this comeback. Now I'm starting to feel it. Let it go, Hyde. Let's start bumping for him. It may come a time where we don't beat him right back down and say, no, work harder and earn it. So they usually take away their huge shine. So whenever we're in there giving you heat and beating you down, you're like, this is not ending. I get in there, they put me in the corner, they chop the shit out of me. They tag Hyde in. Hyde comes in, snap mirrors me, hits me right in the back, picks me up, superplexes me, cover, tags another person in, and you're in the middle of that. You're thinking every 4 hits, I gotta try to fight, and every time I hit them, they just keep beating you down and beating you down and beating you down. Of course, we want to keep beating you down, but we want to beat you down to the point of you saying, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. They're playing rough with me. I want to play rough right back with them. And I will respect you 100% more, right? We're in a battle royal, and I see a new person, and I go over there and chop the crap out of them, and they do nothing, and they just leave their arms wide open or locked onto the ropes. I'll go over there and call Hyde and say, Hyde, chop this guy. He ain't fighting back. Then I'll call Joe. Right? And then I'll call Kristen and Ray and say, hey, this guy's not fighting back. Let's get our chops in. Now, if I do that the first time, I put the guy's arms over and I chop him, and I chop him twice, 3 times, I always tell my beginners, fire back. Fire back with everything you got. Chances are, you do that to me, I'm poking your eyes. I don't want to play chops no more. I really don't. If you're going to let me chop you, I'll keep doing it. I'll keep doing it till my hand hurts. But when you fire back, it brings out a real emotion out of you, and then it brings the heel out of me where it says, I don't want to play anymore, poke your eyes. Now that is the spot, and everyone will see that. Look at it. He was chopping him 2 or 3 times. As soon as he took one, he cowered his way out by poking the guy's eyes, But it built a real emotion on that person's chop. That's why I always tell you, someone is ever taking liberties on you in the ring, on chops or anything like that, fire back on them as a beginner. You do that to me, I might fire back on you. You fire back again, I don't want to play anymore. I'll have more respect for you and say, you can't play that shit with Kristen. Joe let you chop him. He don't get mad or nothing, but she fired. I said I chopped her once really hard. She fucking just lit me up. Like, to where I just said, okay, I'll just sell now. You got me. I'll be cower out, make it part of the match. But it's building that real emotion. So when we're beating you down in a drill, in a heat drill, it's not witty to just make the tag. I want to build that real emotional comeback to where you want to come back and you don't want to be beat down anymore. It's not, are you really punching us? No. You're gauging us, and you're playing with us just as hard as we're playing with you. Hitting you hard in safe places, right? We're not jaw jacking you. We're chopping the shit out of you, so chop the shit out of me back. If I club the crap out of you, club the crap out of me back. If I need the crap out of your stomach, knee me back. It's fine, right? It's tit for tat. Maxwell, you have a question?
Yeah, so instead of as you're saying, going for the tag and kind of getting out of the comeback shine moment, would a better response be to do your shine and then tag out and elevate the shine more? Or is that something like that would be better, right? I'm just trying to clarify.
But right in this instance, in a drill like this in wrestling school, and especially Santino Brothers, we're not giving you nothing. Right? We're not giving you a comeback. You're going to earn the comeback, right? Just like anything in wrestling, right? No one gives you a belt. You earn the belt, So and that's the same thing. And if we could pull that out of you in training and try to really pull that desire of, I know where I'm at, and this is just a video game, and this level is really hard. So I gotta up my attacks to make my comeback, because they will give me the comeback. Because at the end of the day, that's what wrestling is. I can't just beat you up forever. It's uninteresting. All right, well, beat them already. Can you pin them? Finish it already. Right? What makes it interesting is that you stay alive. You stay in the fight. Then you mount the comeback, right? You get to the crowd here. And since you've been taking a beating, you want that comeback, right? When you think it's witty to go tag out, right? You don't learn, but number 2, you don't even get the comeback. You don't even go bump everybody, right? Clean house, as we call it in pro wrestling. So I think that it builds that that real emotion out of you. And it starts with training, and we'll start doing that. And you just think this is just an endless beating. But it really isn't. Because sometimes if you're not fighting back, then we just throw you out and tag the next guy in, and then we start giving heat to that person. Like, we want to really build that emotion. And we'll tell you, we're not just there beating you down. Like, fight back, stay alive, fight back, fight back. And if you don't, you'll feel it. If we don't want you to fight back, we start fighting harder. We're like, no, you ain't bigger and badder than me, because, and then what? Hyde nods and closes his eyes. Yeah. But because that may be because I need to simmer it down a little bit. Hey, maybe coach is tired and he's blowing up right now, and he's ready for the comeback, but just now he needs a minute, But that's why I'll be. But also, it builds a spot. We don't even need spots. The spot is you trying to mount that comeback, and I will not let you. Well, what's going to happen? If I'm a fan, you start asking yourself, what's going to happen when he does? So that's really how you think, like, well, I'm going to just start calling it in there. And all that aspect of that beatdown day, we call it like kind of just a beatdown, and we get 4 guys on one side and 4 guys on the other, and just we don't really allow them to get anything until they've earned it, until everyone's kind of going through a round of some heat, and we work the body part, and we want to build it back up, but you have to earn it. And that's what's going to give you that ability to not only work on the fly, it's going to give you the ability to have that work shoot in you, and also to call it in the ring, and it all starts coming together and start applying it. And I think maybe I think it's better that we explain it in an aspect like this at training, or excuse me, at a Zoom class, as opposed to training. Sometimes all we're thinking about are the moves, what's next, who's on my side, who's not. But now you get the idea. Okay, well, if I ever find myself taking heat, right? It's not even a beatdown. You're just taking heat. Well, if I'm taking heat, I need to mount a comeback, because that's what's next. And then after the comeback, let's take it home. Or in this case, in this drill, we repeat. You make your comeback, we cut you off, we throw you out, we bring your partner in, we start working the heat on them, you start cheering them to make the comeback, and we'll do it all over again, over and over and over again. And that's what really starts helping you call it in the ring and really practice it. Is just taking that beat down with somebody that's maybe a little bit better than you. I think that's probably where that aspect is of better wrestlers than you, really comes into play. So does anybody have any questions about that, about the art of the work shoot, calling it in the ring, and then the working on the fly? I got Willie and Sasha. Willie first, please.
So coming out of your first match, your debut match and everything, or even just the few matches after that, how, when is it, the first match, or when are you expected to do any of this? With your first match, are you calling everything in the back, or is it hey, whatever happens, work on the fly out there, or is it worked out that way, or when do you start saying, hey, I'm
as a
comfortable?
coach trainer, my goal is to have you ready and have that ability coming out of wrestling school. That's my goal. Realistically, is it happening? It happens for some, maybe not everybody, and so on the average, when you come out of wrestling school as a beginner, you're gonna probably, hopefully, you have the opportunity to wrestle your classmate. And so if you're wrestling your classmate, then you're already comfortable with that person. And chances are the reason coach or the booker is putting you in the match together, really coming out of wrestling school, is because they've already noticed that you two work well together. So I can probably get the best match out of this. Give you the opportunity to call it beforehand, not even an hour beforehand, probably a week beforehand, to go over it, to probably even practice it in a ring, to make sure you get it down perfect. So for coach, and the coach is your bookers, usually at a wrestling school, as you go to the wrestling school promotion, we don't want you to shit the bed. So we want to give you the opportunity to practice the matches, even though I want you to be able to go out there and have the ability to call it on the fly in the ring at a moment's notice. But if we have the opportunity for a beginner to practice, why wouldn't we? And that's even for anybody, even if it's a veteran. If we have the opportunity to practice, why wouldn't we? I mean, I wrestled Jake Atlas, and for the most part, we called it all in the ring. But we had about 3 practice matches. You know, he came over to the dojo, and we would just go, okay, I want to go about 20 minutes. So we'd look at the clock and then just start wrestling, and we'd know, like, for the most part, we're gonna finish with his cartwheel DDT. And but sometimes I would counter his cartwheel DDT and just kind of keep going because we don't have a finish. We're just working, practicing. And then so those 3 or 4 matches that we did, when we actually went to the live show, we didn't even have to think about anything, you know. And as a matter of fact, he was late coming to the show, so we really just went out there and just called it. And for the most part, there were some choppy spots, you know, because I wasn't fully comfortable, you know, I'm on the bench, whatever the case is. Um, but I really loved the match, you know, really going back and watching it. I thought, wow, we hit a lot of elements kind of back and forth, really wrestling. I put my knees up on his moonsault and be like, in my head, I was like, okay, now that you put the knees up, you better know where to go from here, you know? And so I would do that and be like, okay, think. What can I do next? What can I do next? What can I do next? Because I would say in hindsight, I should just let him moonsault me, let him kind of take control. But working on that fly really makes you think fast because you're like, I'm in the main event, and this match has to go off without a hitch, especially when it's like Jake Atlas and he's like, please, I need you to come out of retirement to wrestle. I don't wrestle, kid, or I want to wrestle you before I go. So I feel like, oh, it means so much to him. And I always say to him, what does it mean so much to you? Like, I can't hang with you guys, you know? But they're like, hey, it's a coach thing, you know? So, but I think that really builds that in there because when I go out and wrestle, I'm not my most comfortable just going out there and just doing it. Let's go and do it. Me and Ray are going. You're gonna go over with a DDT, you know, and I'll make sure to get you home, you know, because not because I'm a grizzled vet. We're calling it in the ring, kid. No, because man, I will forget the spot. I will forget the spot. We call it right there. We'll do it, you know. But I don't like calling too much. I like to really have that aspect. And plus, since not so many people are doing it, that's why I really like to double down on it, you know. So, anything else you wanted to add to that, Willie?
No, I appreciate it.
Someone else had another question? Sasha, please.
So you had mentioned about how, you know, it's like straight pin matches are boring, which I totally agree. So, okay, I'm a big fan of Marco Stunt, but so he's a small little guy, 5'2", and I feel like they keep having big guys beat on him. I get the asserting the dominance, but like I feel like he doesn't get a shot until he's with Jungle Express. So how do you, as a smaller person, like not get stuck, like just getting beat on or just like, yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, right, once again, I would think, like, I don't know how long Marco Stunt has been wrestling. That could answer our question right away, because I would say if has been wrestling only a few years, it could be because he hasn't built that confidence up yet. Let's see. I mean, yeah, 96 he was born. Let's see here. But that's what I would think. Now, if he's a 10-year vet, when he is a 10-year vet, I don't see that happening to him. You know, I don't see him. Yeah, it looks like 5 years for Marco Stunt. So so now 5 years, but also he's been there 2 years on national television. So 3 years really of being able to cut his teeth. Now, that was my point of telling Jake Atlas, I really wish that you had another year to cut your teeth on the indies, to learn every aspect of every situation before you go, so you don't maybe get bossed around. And so that may be what could be happening with Marco Stunt, is that maybe he could be enthralled that he is there, and he just hasn't had the opportunity to apply his assertiveness, especially, right? You're the smallest guy. You're probably smaller than Rey Mysterio, and there's all these giants. So and big dudes really they have that big man syndrome. You know, they don't like little people, and especially selling. When it comes to wrestling, selling, I don't know if it's like that so much, but I think it probably comes down to he needs to assert himself in spots that he could do to put himself over and make himself look good when he is alone and not just with the Jurassic Express, and I think that's what he needs to do. But really gaining the confidence and being in wrestling for some more years will really give that to him. Because like I said, no one's going to give you anything. You have to earn it. Maybe one day he'll get lucky to get an agent or a booker that'll say, hey, we're going to do these moves and do these matches to put Marco Stunt over. And so, maybe Kevin Nash, you got to lose to Rey Mysterio today, or Bam Bam Bigelow had to lose to Rey Mysterio. But that's because they told them this is the program they're going into. So I think that leads into that confidence. You have to have that confidence, right? Walking that fine line of confidence and chip on your shoulder, right? Just walking that real fine line. And there's another thing I need to add in. I think maybe too many wrestlers today are happy-go-lucky, get-along gang. You got to have a little bit of that motherfucker in you, really, that competitive edge in professional wrestling, right? If someone gets a spot, yeah, that's cool. Be happy for them. And even when you cheer them on, I'm so happy for this person. I always read that and go, shouldn't you be boiling inside and saying, well, what about me? What about me? I'm not good enough. But when you're just saying, oh, well, this person's way better than me and they deserve it. This person's way better than me and they deserve it. You're never going to get anything. You're just going to be cheerleading everybody on, So that's why you got to have that competitive in there. You got to have I'm going to take what's mine. And how do you do that? Right through confidence, to becoming very confident in your wrestling. If you become very confident in your wrestling, right? Who's going to step in the ring with Daniel Bryan or even Tessa Blanchard and try to eat their lunch and outschool them? No, they're incredibly confident in their wrestling, and then so it actually kind of it puts a little intimidation factor just going into it, even though they may be the nicest people in the world. It really puts an intimidation factor. So if you're intimidating a lot of people, you're probably a lot more confident. So I think that's, to answer your question, Saj, I think that's probably what's lacking in Marco Stunt, is just maybe a little bit more assertive to get really, quote unquote, like Brian Cage, get his shit in, because otherwise people just, especially a little guy. I was a small dude in 1994, and whenever they wanted to try any move, they would go to the little guy. Even the little guys would do the presses to me, because they were all bigger than me. So, I think he may be running into that where just everybody wants to do moves, and he's okay with it. But it'll come a point where he's like, hey, I need to get myself over, because you got to be working on getting yourself over, because no one's going to work on getting you over. And if you do have someone helping you get over, that's great. Hold on to that person. That's the real friend in pro wrestling. You know what I mean? That's the real friend, but gotta have that competitive edge. Can't be happy.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll talk forever.
Do you have anybody I should look at who's smaller, who gets over, or who play like a small person playing a good heel? Because, like I said, I just see a lot of small people getting beat on, and
well, it comes into a lot of the time, right? I don't know, like if this is the small person you're looking for, but obviously MJF is a great heel and he's on the shorter side. I don't know if he's the small person you're looking for, but usually because there are a small person, that will tell people visually that is the good guy or the good girl. Or the face, you know what I mean? Just visually, right? The giant, right? David versus Goliath. And that's probably why we all think that, or just, first thing most people may think is because of David and Goliath. Goliath was the mean giant, so, but I'll do some research and try to figure out, and you're looking for like a small wrestler. I mean, obviously, I know that there's been times that, of course, like Juventud has been heel and stuff like that on a small level, but probably with other small wrestlers his size, So I think you're looking for that dynamic of the small, and right now probably MJF, right? He's got Wardlow right next to him, and he's running that guy. But I totally know what you mean when you're saying you're looking for small wrestlers, but it might be a hunt, because the dynamic is the David and Goliath, so that normally the small person would be the face. No.
because I feel like whenever a small person's a heel, it gets comedic and not to like it's entertaining. It's entertaining to me, but still, like the guy from who's in Brody Lee's gang, and
There.
he fought Orange Cassidy at Full Gear.
Okay.
Like he's just like a big old like he's small but buff, but he's just this ball of energy, and it's more comedic than anything. But again, like I love that, and I like it, John Silver, and I like him as a character because of that. But I just like, is there ever a way that a small heel gets over for being tough and not comedic? Or
So yeah, I mean, we have a couple of suggestions here.
but
People are throwing in Leo Rush. I think he looks intense for a small person. He is really absolutely nice person, right? And I think that is good, right? When you could think that somebody's gonna act like their character. Um, but I think maybe yeah, he definitely is intense. Daniel, someone brought up Daniel Bryan on his hill run, and he definitely was a small person among a land of giants. Um, was it as good as his face run? I don't know, but it's right. It's subjective. But yeah, there's definitely some there. So I'll do my research and see. Someone even said, was it AZM from Stardom? AJ is badass. Kevin Sullivan was definitely on the smaller side, probably about 6 foot, but in among the line of giants, 6'5" plus, right back in the day. Gino Rivera. Gino Rivera is a student of mine. He's a great heel. He definitely is. He's a pack of dynamite. Someone said Taz. AJ Lee. They said AJ Lee, and I thought she was actually a small, but I think maybe were there many giants? I don't think she even wrestled with Charlotte Flair because Charlotte, and she's a giant. I think at 5'8", right? She's a giant at 5'8". But yeah, so I'll do some research and I'll find some video for you. But yeah, those are some good suggestions, definitely, right there from some people. Even Eli Everfly, right? Or is it Eli? Eli, maybe Eli Drake. He's a big dude. But Taz and AJ Styles definitely are good. AJ Lee's a good one. So. But yeah, I'll do some research for you on that one, Sasha.
thank you guys.
You're welcome. All right, so it looks like we don't have time to do the match review, but what we're doing on Monday, we're going to spend the whole day doing match review. So we'll definitely get the Eddie Guerrero match in there for everybody. And as a matter of fact, we're gonna watch that one and break that one down. Since what we're talking about today is the art of the work shoot, calling it in the ring, and working on the fly, which Eddie and Angle do it, and I think you're going to see a little bit more of a pro wrestling aspect to it as opposed to what Benoit and Angle did, which was a maybe more of a shoot MMA style collegiate wrestling aspect to it. So you'll see more pro wrestling in their hold to hold portion of it in that. So, and then we'll also break down a couple of other matches. We have the Rockers that we're going to watch. We actually also have The Rock versus Eddie Guerrero, which is a hidden gem. Kurt Angle versus Chris Jericho. If we have time, Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler. We'll watch, and we'll take a look, and we'll see how now the match breakdown is being implemented, and how we can actually see it being done right before our eyes. And then what we're going to move into is we're actually going to go right into promos, and then we're gonna have a lot of homework during the promos. You know, we're gonna go over a lot of different emotions, cutting different promos. If anyone's shy here, you're gonna have your opportunity to cut your promo. First, we start with you just filming yourself with your phone, and then posting it on the group. And I'll give you critiques on that, and then we'll actually have the opportunity to cut them here live on the Zoom class. And really, right, going back to bringing out that confidence. I was never a speaker. I hated to go in front of the class and just to do my report or anything like that. Wrestling has been able to give me the opportunity to bring out my confidence to be able to speak to people. So if it's going to be a hard time to speak here, that's good. Let's break that now, because we expect you to go in front of 60,000 people, 90,000 people at WrestleMania, right? So let's do it here amongst people that we know, even if it's uncomfortable, right? That way we're going to break that ice by actually just doing it. So And we're going to do that. And we're going to bring in Coach Bob Halston Body. You can see him on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood with Heather Monroe. And then I want to bring in Ruby and Heather probably next week, just to talk to everybody here about getting booked on the indies, and things of that sort. So, any questions before we end the class? Does anybody have any questions of what we've been learning the last now the end of 2 weeks here? So end of the 6 sessions. We got 4 more weeks left here. If you have any questions, just make sure to post them in the group.
Coach.
Living Zed, my friend. Yes, sir.
You said a few times earlier that you wanted to wrestle at least like 8 more years, I think, till you're 50. And then you just said you came out of retirement to wrestle Jake. Now I'm kind of worried. I'm like, are we going to get to have our matches against Chaos when we're training? Or?
You know, I have a long list of people. I got like Rocky Romero. I got the Wolf Zaddies. I got a lot of people saying, well, you're going to retire. And I said, I've been retired, brother. I've come out of retirement I was able to go on the tour with Lucifer and the band Pucifer.
Yeah, that was awesome.
All over the world, and I was like, I can't pass that up. And then I came out of retirement. I think maybe my last 2 matches might have been with Brody King and Jake Atlas, and they had to do a big job to get me to wrestle. Not that I didn't want to wrestle them. I didn't want to give them a shitty experience, because I know how much it takes in order to be a professional wrestler, and it takes a hell of a damn lot. And then wrestling wrestlers like that are wrestling everywhere all over the independent circuit really makes me go like, well, I got to be the
When's the last time you wrestled as Voodoo?
Oh, Voodoo. Oh, I think just on Sunday, right, Hyde?
Oh, cool.
No, I sent Hyde. They wanted me to do Voodoo Chaos at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. And I said, I'm retired, brother. And so I sent Hyde over. I said, I'll get you Voodoo Chaos, though. Don't worry about it. And they actually loved it. There was a couple of people that said, I thought you were there on Sunday, man. I went over there to talk to you, and I said, how did you grow your hair out again? But yeah, I think me personally, I don't know. I did a tryout to go on this tour with Pucifer, and I did Voodoo Chaos, and that was probably about 4 years ago was the last time that I actually did that character. I hope to do it again. I say never is never. I'll be honest with you. During this COVID break and really not having my dojo at my beck and call, I missed the ring. I miss wrestling. I miss so much about it, and it gives me the idea. And then I'm working with Damian Sandow. His name is Aaron. Does that make sense? And so he's booking the Primetime Live, and I see it in him, and I told him the other day, I said, I would tag team with you, man. Let's wrestle. Like, and he's like, you want to? And I'm like, no, I'm just playing. But I am starting to get the itch again to want to wrestle, and I think it never leaves you, to really be honest.
I really loved when he did that copycat thing with the Miz. That was like my favorite.
Oh yeah, and he's such a great dude to work with. Every week, he's a guy I report to every week, Damian Sandow, and just putting it together. And but yeah, he's done a lot, and he's even doing a lot of characters there, so he makes it fun and definitely worthwhile. So, but I do feel the itch to want to get back into the wrestling ring. So,
That's
but
good.
no,
Good to
I'll
know.
always be in the ring with the students. And then even when it came down to at the end of this last year, my goal was to get in there a lot more with everybody, and I was attempting to. I think by the Joe's class about 9 p.m., I think I would get burnt out from being in there since 9 a.m. in the morning. But that was always my goal, to be in there with every single student. Coming into
We just got to come up with a good enough story to sell you on, right?
Well, no, not at all. I mean, I'll definitely be able to get in the ring with you, but I think we overcharged ourselves in 2019 to where 2020 we were just going to do night classes, which would have given me the opportunity to get in there with every single person. So you'll get your opportunity. But I still have the itch.
I think with you haven't talked so much about the story aspect and like the Pulp Fiction, doing all the parts in a weird order, just got my creative brain working. Hey, what other stories can you do like that? And
you can tell, right? You can tell any story, right? You could tell any. You have a favorite TV show, you have a favorite book, you have a favorite movie. try to recreate that in the ring. Try to recreate your favorite movie in the ring. See if it's possible for you to do that, right? So if you like a horror movie, try to create a horror movie in that match. Try to tell that story. And I always try to tell people, and it opens their mind to go, wow, really? I can do that? Yeah, you totally could. You could make Seinfeld in the middle of the ring if you wanted to.
Well,
You know,
really,
you
for
really
me, the
could.
fact that you use like Biff as the heel, like not the cool heel, but the heel you want, the one that you actually think is stupid, and you know, it's been perfect for me because that's one of my favorite movies, and to you just using him as the example, it just makes perfect sense. Like that is what a heel is. You don't want to be, you know, the cool heel. You want to be the Biff heel. So
Yeah, and I think a lot of problem today is everybody wants to be the cool heel, where I think you have to be the heel. But if you're the heel, that means that you're going to let the face get their comeuppance on you. That's it. You know, you're going to beat them and you're going to beat them down. But at the end of the program, at the end of the day, you're laying down for them. That's it, right? I mean, you know, right? The Star Wars, it ends happy. Some movies might end a little sad, but then it comes right back at the end. It keeps going, right? The good has to overcome. So but I enjoyed the time today. We hit 8 o'clock. I'll go ahead and post that match, Eddie Guerrero versus Benoit, so you can watch it and study it. Let's start thinking about. I want you to think about a promo. Not that you're going to hit it on Monday, but think about hitting a promo that's 60 seconds. Just start practicing. You don't have to post it. You can. You definitely can if you want to get critiques from it. But I need you to practice it because by Wednesday or Thursday, I will be asking you to hit 60 seconds on the money. And sometimes it's a little bit intimidating to hit 60 seconds. How do I do that? You'll practice. Practice makes perfect. All right, end of week 2. I enjoyed my time with you, everybody. Let's go ahead and bring it in. Santino's on 3. Santino's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Santino!
Santino!
All right, everybody. You have a good weekend. Be safe.
I just wanted
thanks
to
everyone.
ask if you would be able to post maybe some examples of some promos that you were wanting us to look at for.
Yeah.
I get so in my head, I'm like, I have no idea what to do because there's so many different things. So it'd be good to have some examples to work off of.
I
I'm
definitely
feeling the
will.
same way.
Yeah, I definitely will. Tell us who you are and what your purpose is, right? That's going to be the main thing. And I'll write that down and I'll let you know. But just to give you an idea going into tonight. Okay?
Thanks, Coach.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night,
you. Have a
everyone.
great weekend,
Night.
guys.
Have a great
Bye. Good
weekend.
night.
Bye guys. Have a good weekend. Love y'all.